They said the creature could tear a man apart in seconds. But when she touched it, it lay down beside her and closed its eyes. The alarm lights turned the trees red. Jungle vines hissed in the heat as containment sirens echoed across the high steel towers of Sable Island. Technicians scrambled. Drones lifted off. A voice shouted across the intercom. Code Indigo. Vault breach. Subject Varu is exposed. Repeat. Exposed. Inside the viewing bay, Dyron Sable watched the footage in stunned silence. The screen showed not violence, not chaos, but a girl barefoot no older than 10, standing in the center of a massive biome enclosure. Facing her, a towering, black-furred predator with amber eyes that burned like coals. And between them, silence. No growl, no scream, just stillness. She reached out. Her hand trembled, not in fear, but in awe. Slowly, impossibly, the creature bent its head and knelt. Dyron's jaw clenched. He turned to his assistant. Who is she? Lena Aaron, Tech's daughter. Nonverbal. No clearance. She wasn't supposed to be in the zone. Then explain this, Dyron whispered, pointing at the screen. That thing doesn't obey anyone. Not even me. 2 days earlier, Lena traced her fingers across the plexiglass window of the service tram, watching thick green fog curl across the treetops. Her father sat beside her, chewing his lip, flipping through access logs. Just a few days, kiddo, he said, not meeting her eyes. Fix a few servers. Get paid. Then we'll go back home. I promise. Lena didn't answer. She never did. But her eyes flicked toward the jungle with something he couldn't read. At night, while he slept in the barracks, she wandered. Not lost, just following a rhythm no one else seemed to hear. Buzzing locks, hum of hidden tunnels, the heartbeat of the island. And then a door left ajar. She stepped through, into mist, into breath. The creature was already there, watching from the shadow, breathing slow. Lena should have run. She should have screamed. Instead, she sat down. And after a long moment, the beast did too. Now, live on every screen, an autistic girl forms a psychic bond with the deadliest predator alive. The newsreel scream. Dyron Sable's Project Eden unveils nature's miracle child. But is it science or something more? They want to measure her, study her, own her. But Lena doesn't want cameras. She doesn't want stages or cages. She just wants to go back, to the one place she didn't have to speak to be understood. And if the world won't let her, then she and the beast will disappear again. Into the jungle, into the silence, where no one, not even billionaires, can follow. Before we move further into this powerful story, tell us, where in the world are you watching from? If this connection between the wild and the unheard touches you, hit that like. It truly matters. And don't forget to subscribe to Chronicles of the Wild. Every click helps us keep sharing stories that give a voice to the voiceless. The cage and the silence. The island was a fragment of untouched earth, floating in a restless ocean. A wild heart beating beyond civilization's grasp. Yet beneath its emerald canopies and whispered winds lay a secret. Walls of steel and glass cut through the trees, encasing a world where nature was not free, but controlled, manipulated by human hands desperate to rewrite the story of the wild. High above the island's dense forest, a sleek tower rose, a fortress of ambition and power. Inside, the air was cold, sterile, humming with the faint buzz of machines and distant voices. Here Dyron Sable ruled, a billionaire with a vision, to reclaim the wilderness, but on his terms. A man who saw nature as something to command, not coexist with. Dyron stood alone in the observation deck, silhouetted by the fading orange glow of the sun dipping below the horizon. His eyes, sharp and calculating, were fixed on the vast enclosure below. In the clearing, the beast paced. A creature of shadows and muscle, a black panther's grace fused with something ancient, something legendary. Varu, Dyron whispered, as if speaking the name could bind the wildness within. The beast was his masterpiece. captured from the forbidding red expanse, a land whispered about in myths, where only the brave or the foolish dared to tread. But Varu was no trophy. It was a force of nature, unpredictable and untamed, a creature that seemed to understand more than mere instincts, almost as if it could read the emotions of those around it. Dr. Laren says its neural activity spikes whenever humans are near, said Ava, Dyron's assistant, stepping beside him with a tablet in hand. Her voice was steady, but there was an undercurrent of unease. It doesn't respond to commands. It's like it's resisting. Dyron's jaw tightened. Resisting or calculating? His voice was cold, unyielding. Either way, we must break it, control it. This project depends on it. Below, Varu's muscles rippled as it prowled, eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. The air around it was charged, like a storm waiting to break. Meanwhile, far from the glass towers and their sterile lights, a different kind of silence reigned. Lena sat alone on a moss-covered rock, tucked away beneath towering trees that whispered with the wind. She rocked gently, her small fingers tracing invisible patterns on her sleeves, eyes closed to the world around her. Lena was different, nonverbal, autistic, a child whose voice was silence itself. Her world was not built from words, but from sensations, textures, colors, rhythms. To her, the noisy island was overwhelming, a place where machines roared and people moved too fast. Her father, Malik, watched from a distance. A technician at Eden, Malik's face was lined with worry. He had brought Lena here hoping the calm of the island would soothe her restless mind, give her space to breathe. But the island held its own harshness, a quiet kind of prison, with fences and guards and dangers unseen. "Lena, please," Malik whispered, his voice trembling. "Stay close." But Lena's feet moved of their own will. Drawn by something deep within her, she slipped away from the path, her small form melting into shadows. The forest closed around her like a velvet cloak, thick with the scent of damp earth and growing things. The moon rose high, casting silvery beams that danced on leaves and tangled roots. Lena's heart beat steady. Each breath was a thread weaving her closer to something unknown. And then she saw it. Var. The beast was crouched beneath a giant ancient tree, muscles coiled, eyes locked on hers. The world seemed to freeze. Varu was magnificent, a living myth made flesh. Its sleek black coat shimmered, fur rippling like water. Its eyes were pools of amber fire, intense and inscrutable. But instead of fear, Lena felt something else. A quiet calm, a gentle pulse that matched her own heartbeat. Slowly, she reached out her hand, trembling not from fear, but from an overwhelming need to connect. Her fingers brushed the cool air between them. Varu's eyes softened. In that suspended moment, silence spoke louder than any words. Suddenly, alarms shattered the fragile peace. Red lights flashed, sirens blared, and the island erupted into chaos. Containment breach. Varus escaped. Voices shouted orders. Guards sprinted through corridors, weapons drawn. But Varu did not run wild. Stayed still, watching Lena as if waiting. The beast's gaze locked with hers, an unspoken promise. From a distance, Malik's voice crackled through the comlink, raw with panic. "Lena, come back. Please, come back." But Lena's smile was faint and resolute. She stepped forward into the clearing, the moonlight bathing her small figure. Varu lowered its massive head, a silent bow to her courage. Dyron's voice boomed over the speakers, sharp and furious. "Bring her back. The beast is not yours to command." But the island had shifted. A new power was born in the quiet bond between girl and beast, something no amount of money or control could break. The sirens continued to wail across Eden's compound like a war cry, a cacophony that shattered the island's delicate peace and stirred every shadow into action. Guards scrambled, their heavy boots pounding on concrete, radios crackling urgent commands. But amidst the chaos, Lena and Varus had vanished. Lena's small hand rested gently on Varus's sleek fur. The beast's warm breath brushed her cheek. Its enormous frame coiled protectively around her like a guardian angel born of night. The steel cage, once a symbol of power and control, now seemed a distant memory, a prison left behind. Inside the control room, Dyron's eyes flashed with fury. His voice was steel-edged as he barked orders at his security team. Deploy drones. Track every inch of that forest. I want that girl and that creature alive and unharmed. No mistakes. But deep inside, a crack had formed in his armor. This wasn't just about a wild animal slipping free, it was about losing control. The world was watching, and Dyron couldn't afford to lose. Elsewhere, Malik's breath came in ragged gasps as he pushed through thick undergrowth, guided by a desperate hope. Every step was a battle, twisting roots threatening to trip him, tangled vines snagging his clothes. But Malik's eyes burned with determination. "Lena," he called, voice raw. "Lena, where are you?" No answer, only the rustle of leaves. He sank to his knees by a small stream, fingers dipping into the cool water. He closed his eyes, swallowing the lump in his throat. He remembered the long nights rocking her to sleep, soothing her fears with whispered stories. How she never spoke, but communicated with the language of touch, movement, and the quiet poetry of silence. "Please be safe," he whispered. "Please come back." Lena and Varus moved through the island's dense interior, a world untouched by man's hand. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and blooming flowers. Birds sang ancient songs overhead, and the rustling canopy sheltered them like a protective dome. Varus's paws barely made a sound on the forest floor, his muscles rippling beneath his glossy coat. Lena's fingers trailed along the moss-covered bark of a giant tree, her wide eyes drinking in the colors and textures. A newfound calm settled over her, a feeling she had never known. She looked up at Varus, whose golden eyes mirrored a silent question. Lena smiled, her first wordless conversation. Back at the compound, the news spread like wildfire. Footage of Varus's escape and Lena's disappearance was broadcast globally. Social media exploded with speculation, fear, and fascination. Is the wild beast dangerous? What does this mean for Eden's project? Who is this girl? Why hasn't she been found? Journalists lined up outside the island's gates, demanding answers. Environmental groups seized the moment, calling for the release of all captive creatures. Dyron's PR team scrambled to control the narrative, but the story had taken on a life of its own. As days passed, Lena's silent world deepened into one of wonder and discovery. She and Varus moved as one through the island's secret corners, hidden waterfalls, sun-dappled clearings, ancient ruins swallowed by vines. Lena learned to read Varus's subtle cues, the twitch of an ear, the flick of a tail, the gentle rumble of a purr. And Varus, in turn, seemed to trust her implicitly, his once fierce demeanor softened by her presence. Yet the island was not without danger. Poisonous plants, sudden storms, and predators lurking beyond the light reminded Lena of the delicate balance between safety and survival. One evening, as a heavy rain fell, Lena shivered beneath a natural canopy of leaves. Varus curled close, his massive body radiating warmth. Her breath caught as the beast pressed his head to hers in a rare moment of vulnerability. In these quiet moments, a silent language flourished between them, a bond forged in trust rather than words. Lena began to mirror Varus's movements, the slow stretch of powerful legs, the tilt of his head. She felt her own fears dissolve, replaced by a fierce sense of belonging. Meanwhile, Malik never stopped searching. Each night, he sat by the control room's monitors, eyes weary but unyielding. He pleaded with Dyron to show mercy, to understand that Lena's connection to the beast was something beyond science or exploitation. But Dyron remained resolute. "She is the key to Project Eden," he insisted. We can't let sentiment cloud our mission. As Lena and Varu's sanctuary blossomed, a darker force stirred within the island's political landscape. Eden was more than a research facility. It was a symbol of power for governments and corporations eager to control the future of nature. News leaked of secret deals, aggressive plans to militarize the island's wildlife. Rumors swirled that Varu was to be weaponized, a living tool to be harnessed for domination. Lena's bond with Varu had unwittingly ignited a firestorm, one that threatened not only their freedom but the fragile future of the island itself. One night, as the moon cast silver shadows through the trees, Lena and Varu approached a clearing bathed in pale light. There, the ruins of an ancient temple stood, a forgotten monument to a time when humans lived in harmony with nature. Lena's fingers traced the weathered stone, and for the first time, a whispered sound escaped her lips, a soft hum, a note of hope. Varu's eyes shone brighter, as if recognizing something eternal within her. But their peace was shattered by the crackle of movement, voices approaching. Hidden among the trees, security forces advanced, weapons drawn. Lena stood, small but resolute, between Varu and the armed men. The beast growled low, muscles tensed, ready to defend. Malik stepped forward, hands raised in peace. "Wait!" he shouted. "She's not a threat." Dyron's voice echoed through the calms. "Bring them in, alive. Do not harm." Lena's heart pounded. The moment had come, a choice between freedom and captivity. She reached out to Varu, her silent plea clear. "Trust me." Varu hesitated, then slowly lowered his head, stepping back into the shadows. As Lena was led away, the bond between her and Varu remained unbroken, a silent promise that this was not the end. Malik's eyes filled with tears, torn between relief and fear. Dyron watched with a mixture of triumph and dread. Outside, the world waited, breath held. The story of the wild and the silent girl had only just begun. The island's heavy silence after Lena's capture was broken only by the distant echoes of footsteps and the faint, restless rustle of leaves. But beneath this quiet, a storm brewed, not just of human conflict but of hearts awakening. Lena sat alone in a sterile containment room deep within Eden's compound, the cold glass walls stark against her small frame. She pressed her palm to the transparent barrier, her breath fogging the surface. Around her, monitors flickered with data, biological readings, security feeds. But Lena's focus was inward, lost in a world of silence and memories of the forest. She missed the warmth of Varu's fur, the steady rhythm of his breath, the way the wild had spoken to her soul. Malik visited every day, his face drawn with worry and guilt. "We'll find a way out, Lena," he promised softly, tears threatening to spill. "I swear it." But even his words felt fragile, like threads in a storm. Dyron Sable sat in his private office, the panoramic window revealing the lush island that now felt more like a cage than a kingdom. His obsession with Project Eden had twisted into a hunger for control. His advisors debated feverishly about what to do with Varu and Lena. "She's the key to unlocking Varu's potential," one said. "We need to study her, understand their connection." Dyron's eyes narrowed. "No, we'll do better. We'll replicate it." His words echoed with cold determination, hinting at darker plans. To create a line of engineered creatures, each bonded to chosen humans, tools of power disguised as miracles. Outside, in the tangled wild, Varu prowled restlessly. His golden eyes scanned the shadows, searching for the small hand that had touched his life so profoundly. He avoided the patrols, using every instinct to evade capture. But his heart ached with the absence of Lena, the bond between them an unbreakable thread pulling him back. One night, under a sky full of stars, Varu returned to the ancient temple ruins, the place where their journey had almost ended. He lay beneath the broken stone arches, his powerful body tense but still, as if waiting for a whisper, a sign, a miracle. Meanwhile, Malik was no longer just a desperate father. He had become a man with a mission. He hacked into Eden's systems, uncovering files that chilled him. Plans to weaponize Varus, experiments designed to manipulate the emotional bonds Lena had formed. He reached out to activists, scientists, and journalists outside the island. He knew that exposing the truth was their best hope. In a clandestine meeting, Malik spoke with Ava, a passionate environmental journalist. "We can't let them turn nature into a weapon," he said. "Lena and Varus represent something bigger, hope." Ava nodded, eyes blazing. "Then we'll fight together." Back in captivity, Lena's world shifted in unexpected ways. The sterile room began to feel less like a cage as she discovered the strength within herself. Through subtle gestures, an expression, a touch, she communicated with the scientists, showing glimpses of her unique perception. Her silence spoke louder than words. One researcher, Dr. Elena Rivas, grew fascinated. She saw beyond the data, recognizing the profound empathy Lena held. "Elena," Lena's eyes seemed to say, "there is more than what you measure." Elena found herself torn between duty and compassion, quietly questioning the morality of their mission. As outside pressure mounted, a daring plan took shape. Ava's exposé had ignited global outrage. Protests erupted demanding Eden's closure, while inside the compound, Malik coordinated a risky rescue with a small band of allies. Late one stormy night, with rain lashing the island, Malik and his team infiltrated the facility. Security was tighter than ever, but their resolve was stronger. Navigating dark corridors and bypassing electronic locks, they reached Lena's cell. She looked up as the door slid open, hope and fear mingling in her eyes. "Come on," Malik whispered urgently. Outside, Varus sensed the shift. The air was electric, charged with anticipation. As Lena slipped free into the storm, her small figure soaked and trembling, a low growl answered her call. Varus emerged from the shadows, a silent guardian. Their reunion was wordless, but thunderous, a collision of hearts that defied language. Together, they raced into the wilderness, slipping past patrols and drones, vanishing once more into the island's embrace. Dairon's fury was volcanic when he discovered the escape. "This is war," he declared, mobilizing his forces to hunt down the fugitives. But the world had changed. The leaked footage of Lena and Varus thriving in the wild had sparked a movement, an awakening to the power of empathy and coexistence. Governments, activists, and ordinary people demanded that Eden be dismantled, that the island become a true sanctuary, free from greed and control. In the island's heart, Lena and Varus found peace in the ancient sanctuary. The ruins flourished once more, wildflowers blooming where stone had cracked, animals returning to reclaim their home. Lena's silent voice echoed through the trees, a call to listen and understand. Malik and Ava arrived days later, their hearts heavy but hopeful. Together, they pledged to protect this fragile paradise. "We can't tame the wild," Malik said softly, "but we can learn from it." Months passed. Eden transformed from a prison to a haven. Lena became a symbol, a bridge between worlds. Her story inspired a global shift toward compassion and stewardship, a reminder that nature's greatest power lies not in domination, but in trust. Varus remained at her side, a living testament to the unbreakable bond between a girl who spoke without words and a beast who understood the language of the heart. And as the sun rose over the island, a new chapter began, one written not with chains, but with freedom.